Let's have a detailed understanding with respect to the polity of Jammu and Kashmir. Why it is important? Yes, it is important for both prelims as well as mains. You should understand about Article 370 and Article 35A. Now, coming to Article 370. As I promised, I will give you a detailed explanation of Article 370. Starting with, just a minute, Article 370. First, can a Parliament of India can enact a law on the subjects of Jammu and Kashmir? Yes, but partially. Like how? See, Parliament of India, which is considered to be the supreme law-making body of India, but it is not with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the Parliament of India can make up a law on the subjects mentioned only on the instrument of accession with the consent of the state government. With the consent of the state government. This is the thing mentioned. Okay, yes, Parliament can come up with a law, but the law can be on the subjects mentioned on the instrument of accession. Now, coming to the other thing. Can the other matters or other subjects be conferred to the Parliament? The answer is yes. But who can do that? Yes, it is President. President by a order can devolve the other subjects or what can I say, other models also to the Parliament. But such order has to be in concurrence of state government and it has to be ratified by Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly. See, Parliament can enact a law on the subjects mentioned on the instrument of accession. Can the other subjects of Indian constitution be made applicable to Jammu and Kashmir? Answer is yes. But for that, the President has to pass an order. And that order cannot be passed, or it can be passed only with the consent or with the concurrence of the state government. And the concurrence of the state government has to be ratified by the Constituent Assembly of the state. This was the thing you should understand. Now, coming to the third point. So again, here even the other provisions of Indian Constitution can also be made applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, and for that also the concurrence of the state government, that is Jammu and Kashmir government, be it NC or PDP, which is in power, that concerned state government should give the green signal, and that green signal has to be ratified, has to be approved by the concerned state concerned Constituent Assembly of the state. Done. And the third thing, that is, this is okay, these two things are mentioned in the article 370 clause 1 itself. Now coming to clause 3, what does it say? Article 370 can be inoperative. Inoperative. Yes, you can make Article 370 to be inoperative, but for that again President has to pass a public notification, and that public notification has to be ratified by Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly. Done. Again, what does Article 370 say? Article 370 say that the Article 370 itself is a temporary provision. It's a transient provision, right? It can be made inoperative, but for that President has to pass a public notification, and that public notification has to be ratified by the Constituent Assembly of the state. So this was the two very important provision mentioned in the Article 370. And in addition to that, if tomorrow there is any question that what is the link in 1947 with respect to Jammu and Kashmir and India, what is the link? If they ask, you should say that there are only two articles at that point in time. One is Article 1 and the other is Article 370. Only these two articles are there, which is like a bridge, or which is like a linkage between Jammu and Kashmir and India. Done. So this is the total idea you should have about Article 370. Now let's come to the very important question. In case you are very clear with this, let me come to the question like how the government really made it possible. Came up with scrapping of Article 370. That is the question, right? Now let's talk about it. First of all, as I said, what does Article 370 clause 1 say? It says that the president by a president order can devolve or can add to the Jammu and Kashmir all the provisions of the Indian Constitution, but that cannot be done unless the concerned state government gives permission along with the ratification by Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. This is the Article 370 clause 1. Now what government did is, it was in 2018 from July to December there was a governor's rule in Jammu and Kashmir. Why governor's rule? Because president rule is not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir in the first place. Yes, it is applicable after the 6 months of the governor's rule. Where does this governor rules come from? It comes from the Article 370 in order to meet the emergency situation. So it was from July to December in 2018 there was a governor's rule. Then following this, from December 2018 the president rule was made applicable in order to cope up with the militancy or the high alert situation of Jammu and Kashmir. Right now there is no government, because after December 2018 the government also got dissolved and the president rule came up in the state. So there is no government. When there is no government, when it is under the president rule, who will take up all the powers of the state government? It is going to be the executive. In this place it will be the governor. So it is the consent of the governor is enough now, because it is under the president rule. Now coming to the ratification of the Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir. When was Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir was formed? It was in 1951. When it got dissolved, it was in 1956 that the Constituent Assembly came up with the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, and then it got dissolved itself by 1957. Now there is no Constituent Assembly. So government made use of Article 367. What it is? It is nothing but an interpretation act or article. By that, what government made is, the Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir refers to the Legislative Assembly of the state. Done. So what government made is, the Constituent Assembly is like the Legislative Assembly. So they made it very clear. And they also said that the Sadari Riyasat shall refer to the governor. And all these things are done. So using this Article 367, now they gave the meaning of Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir. Now again, since the Jammu and Kashmir is under the president rule, the legislative assemblies of Jammu and Kashmir's power will be taken up by the, yes, it is parliament. So the parliament's approval is enough for this particular thing. Now I will just brief you about this very clearly. Now it was Article 370. By Article 370, if I am a president, I can pass a order. Thereby, if this order is approved by the concerned state government and it is ratified by the concerned state's Constituent Assembly, then that particular order it's deemed to be passed. Now in this scenario, from December 2018, since the Jammu and Kashmir state is under the president rule, the state government's power is transferred to the governor, and the state government's legislative assembly was dissolved and the power was transferred to the parliament. So in this Article 370, just a minute, by Article 370. President came up with the order, and that order was given permission not by the state government but by the president, since the state was under the president rule. Then it got ratified by the parliament, and the approval of the parliament is sought for this particular matter. Then the Indian constitution, the entire Indian constitutional provisions was made applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, just a minute. Okay, the entire Indian constitutional provisions was made applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, and also they supersede the presidential order 1954, and they made a full integration of Jammu and Kashmir with respect to India. Now, what the critics are saying about this? The critics are saying that state government is replaced by a governor. How come a elected representative body of a state government can be replaced by an unelected governor? It is not the democratic principle being followed. The other critics are saying that the Article 367 was used to interpret the Constituent Assembly of a state with Legislative Assembly of a state, and the Legislative Assembly of the state is not concerned. Again, it is taken care by the parliament. So the will of the people of Jammu and Kashmir was not sought in this particular matter, so it's against the democracy. So this was the critics' angle over Article 370's scrapping. Now let's have this. This is the critics' view, and again the counter argument is what the other persons are saying is, see, if at all the state government is concerned for this, no state government will be ready to do this. And we are having the issue for more than 70 years, but still we could not find a solution. So it is the move of the government which will give the path towards integration of Jammu and Kashmir with India, and moreover the Kashmiris will have much more integrated feeling with the people, because they will also be provided with the education and employment. So when their economic condition is taken care, obviously their political mentality will be set towards India. They will understand the reality. This was the counter argument which was kept against this critic. So this is the depth of understanding you should have. Now let me go through this is the first resolution. So by the first resolution, the presidential order 2019 replaced presidential order 1954, and also it made all the provisions of the Indian constitution made applicable to the Jammu and Kashmir. Done. Now talking about Article 370 clause 3. Article 370 can be made inoperative by a presidential public notification, and it has to be ratified by the Constituent Assembly of the state. In this case it is Jammu and Kashmir. This is the article. This is what Article 370 talks about. How government did it? As I said, it was under Article 367. The interpretation was made therein. The Constituent Assembly of a state was replaced by the Legislative Assembly of the state. Since Legislative Assembly of the state got dissolved, since the state was under the president rule, it was taken care by the power has been conferred to the Parliament of India. So the Parliament has given approval in case of this. In case of this, the Parliament's approval was sought, and President came up with a public notification, and it got ratified by the Parliament, and finally Article 370 was made inoperative. So this was the thing you should understand. So I made it very clear how the government came up with the thing, and what the critics are saying, why they are saying it is against the what can I say, the democracy, it is against the federal character, and how the Supreme Court can take these loopholes, and it can say that it can say many other things which we will discuss in the analysis section also. Let's not get into it. Okay, this is what the thing you should understand, and what is the counter argument for the same also. Now let's have a practice question. This is our practice question number 5. Why we are practicing question? To understand the pulse of UPSC. Moreover, in many institutes they are giving the practice question only with respect to the static portion, but the trend of UPSC is moving towards current affairs, where if at all there is any important topic, you should be able to have some practice questions, minimum 3 to 4 practice questions, so that you can understand that you understood the topic and you are ready to answer the questions of the topic. Then only your job will be done. Not only reading will solve your problem, you should practice and you should make your mind ready for that. Now let's continue with this particular practice question number 5. What the question reads: President can render Article 370 inoperative after a special majority from the Parliament. See, I really say this particular statement is much tricky. Why I am saying this question as a this statement as a tricky? See, it's saying that yes, President can render Article 370 inoperative, but it has to be after the special majority from the Parliament. What does Article 370 say? It does not talk anything about the special majority of the Parliament. Only it says that it has to be passed by the Constituent Assembly of the state. Since the interpretation was changed in Article 367, the Parliament is giving the approval. Since state legislative assembly of the state was not in operation, or it got dissolved, so Parliament is giving approval. It is no provision mentioned in the Indian Constitution that the special majority of the Parliament can make Article 370 inoperative. So you should understand this. So obviously this statement is wrong, and it is very tricky question and very tricky statement. Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly can recall, that is, can give birth again. What can I say? Can get back Article 370 by a special majority of 2/3 members present and voting, and absolute majority of the total membership of the assembly, that is Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. So this statement is again a statement which is just to confuse you, to check how strong you are with the concept. As I said, there are only 2 very important provisions of Article 370. The first provision says the Article 370 can be used to devolve or extend all the provisions of the Jammu and Kashmir with respect to all the provisions of Indian Constitution with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. And the third one is with respect to the, what can I say, is with respect to Article just a minute. Okay, because of this entire thing, I am just getting confused. Okay, Article 370 Clause 3 can be made inoperative by a president by a public notification. So nowhere it is mentioned about the second statement, and it is not possible also. Once it is made inoperative by a president public notification, it cannot be recalled by the concerned Jammu and Kashmir legislature. Done. So both are wrong statements. So the correct option is option D. Now let's talk about Article 35A. Article 35A is very, very important. Let me tell you why. As I discussed under the history section, it was renegotiated. First of all, it was negotiated with Mr. Sheikh Abdullah. Then it got renegotiated with Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad. And then they came up with Article 35A by a presidential order of 1954. But what it is, again, I discussed all the historical matters which you need to understand about Article 35A in our history part of Jammu and Kashmir. If you didn't see that video, just go back to the history part of Jammu and Kashmir and have a detailed understanding of the same. Now, Article 35A, what does it do? It defines the permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir. And what is this permanent resident? Who are these permanent residents? Who belong to Jammu and Kashmir, and only they have the power with respect to buying property. They have the sole power with respect to many other things. For example, getting government jobs, getting education under the Jammu and Kashmir government. So all these very important features are kept only with the permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir. So everybody is talking about the developmental hindrances it will bring. But what Jammu and Kashmir government says is the people of Jammu and Kashmir can lease the land for many years. But this statement is not that great, because many will not be interested in getting the lease for a very long period. If they have it as their own property, then their interest will be higher, so they will come for a profit motive, then they will get, because of that the other peoples of Jammu and Kashmir also get benefited, because they are getting job, they are getting education, they are getting the living standards improved, everything else. Okay, so this is what the Article 35A, which defines permanent residence, and it also gives the special provisions for the permanent residents, whereby only they can buy the property, they can get the government jobs, then they can get the education, all those matters done. And by the Article 37 Clause 1, by the Presidential Order 2019, which replaced Presidential Order 1954, it also scrapped Article 35A. So that's why I just gave a brief understanding about 35A as well. So you should understand what is 35A. That's it. Enough. Now, I also explained you how government made it possible, and I also explained about Presidential Order 2019 replacing the Presidential Order 1954. Now let's come back with the sixth practice question. Let's read the statement. The Presidential Order 2019 to devolve all the Indian constitutional provision to Jammu and Kashmir was issued as per the provisions of the Jammu and Kashmir Constitution. See, again this statement is a bit tricky. What they are saying is the Presidential Order 2019, which devolves all the Indian constitutional provision to Jammu and Kashmir, was issued as per the provision of Jammu and Kashmir Constitution. No, it is as per the Indian Constitution, as per the Article 370. So this is a wrong statement. Now coming to second statement, the President issued the public notification rendering Article 370 inoperative using his special power under Article 367. Again it is a bit tricky statement. See, our expert team or our content development team always works to make the question much more tricky and difficult, so that it can fine-tune your mind and it can make your understanding very clear, that you will never make a mistake. So coming back to this particular statement, the President issued public notification rendering Article 370 inoperative using his special power. See, no, it's a power given by the given to the President by Article 370, and it's not its okay. It can also be its special power, but it is not under Article 367. Rather, it's under Article 370, where by under Article 370 Clause 3 is doing it, but Article 367 was made made utilized by Parliament in order to interpret the Constituent Assembly of a state as a legislative assembly of the state. That's it. But it is not the power given to the President to have a special power to render Article 370 inoperative. The which article gives the President the special power is nothing but Article 370 Clause 3, where he can come up with a public notification, and that public notification has to be ratified by the Constituent Assembly of a state. So this statement is also wrong. So I guess you can understand the minute difference between the same. Since they gave Article 367, it becomes wrong. If they would have given Article 370 itself, then it is right. Here, if they would have given Indian Constitution, it would have been right. So now in this case, both are incorrect, so option D is the correct answer. Now coming to the mains question. There can also be a mains question. What is the mains question is, what is the difference between Article 2 and Article 3? I made a very detailed explanation regarding the same in our introductory video. If you didn't see that video, I will provide a link in the description. Go and just watch the introductory part of Jammu and Kashmir, so that you can answer the first part of the question very clearly. Now, explain with an appropriate example. So, the same question. The question is still here. Now, coming to the second part. Discuss in brief about the procedure involved in the bifurcation and downgrading of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories. They are asking about the procedure involved. Again, I explained this under Article 3, where I used the example of Andhra Pradesh to tell you how the bifurcation takes place, what is the procedure, so everything. And again in the Article 370, I told about the nitty-gritties involved and how the government really came up with the rendering Article 370 inoperative, and also in devolving all the Indian constitutional provisions to Jammu and Kashmir. You have to discuss both these in this particular question. Since it is for 15 marks and 250 words, you can split 125 words for the first part and 125 words for the second part, and you can give up a structure. Just I will mention the structure also. See, first start with Article 2 and Article 3. Just say what is the difference between these two. Here it is for the non-existing state to a new state. Here it is a existing state into a new state or union territory, or here union territory. Done. Then talk about the other provisions possible. Talk about the other provisions possible. So this is what you should write. And with example, take Sikkim for Article 2 and take Jammu and Kashmir itself, or you can take Andhra Pradesh example also. If you want to take the previous example, you can talk about many things. For example, Uttarakhand was separated from Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand was separated from Bihar, and you can also talk about the Chhattisgarh was separated from Madhya Pradesh. All these are bifurcations. You can talk about these also. You can give the extra example so that the examiner who corrects your paper knows that you have a very good understanding about the Article 3's examples also. Then after finishing this, okay, it should be 125 words. Have the word limit very clear, because that matters a lot in your exam. And your time management and word limit determines your success. Now coming back to the second part of the statement, discuss about the procedure. Just give the heading procedure and just talk about Article 3. Again, with the Article 370, talk about the nitty-gritties, everything done. So this is the procedure you have to explain, and everything done. And you can also write answer to us at learningmarathon@gmail.com. so that we will our expert team will look into the answer, and they will correct the answer, and they will also give you the valuable suggestion how to improve your answer and how to score much higher in your UPSC exam. That's it. Let's go through with the analysis in our next video. Thank you.